Speedway could not exist without a fantastic, eclectic group of people. The volunteers, the flag marshals, the people that spend their spare time at the track making sure that everything works, the people that man the turnstiles, the people that, in the main, work for nothing and turn their hands to anything. These people get no rewards, don't particularly ask for it, little thanks and no trophies. Well, when you next go to visit your local team, give them a thought, maybe a handshake or maybe a round of applause. Only in Speedway. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Speedway Tavern, sponsored by So-Called Studios. You thought I'd forgot. Yeah, you thought I'd forgot.
You've got the hang of it after 20 shows.
19, I thought you said.
19.
Yeah, how is everybody?
Fine, thank you.
All good?
Yeah. Good. Yeah, so I think we'll start with last night's under 21
Youth Championship,
whatever it's called. You all know what I mean.
Yep.
That's a talent, William Carnes.
Certainly is.
Hell of a talent.
I've seen him a few times already. Not live, I should point out. And you can tell. I mean, I saw him in the Racing in America when they streamed the US team against the rest of the world team at the start of 2023, and he looked really, really good there. And I think he's just sort of blossomed really, and he's sort of taken to National League racing immediately. And as you've said, I think he's more than capable of holding his own at championship level.
I would guess.
We obviously were very, very impressed with Ashton Boven this season, but I think
last season,
but I think William Cairns looks like he might even be able to trump that, and he could be the next one. He looks like he's going to be potentially the next big star. And I think there's going to be a huge, once he's old enough, of course, I think there's going to be a huge clamour of promoters looking to secure his services,
particularly in the National League and particularly in the Championship.
Well. Yeah. Whether a Premiership promoter might be tempted to take a punt on him.
I would, from my own personal point of view, I think it's too early and too much of a pressure to put somebody of his age into the Premiership, just for his own development, really. But it would be a temptation.
Yeah, it certainly would. But as you say, you obviously the first time you've seen him live. Unfortunately, of course, I wasn't there last night, but you certainly said that you were blown away by how good he was.
He was just tremendous. Of the 250cc, I thought Cooper Russian, although he didn't win it, I was quite impressed with him. And I was impressed with all the 250cc guys. My life, they put it about.
Yeah,
it's like being at Bellevue or Sheffield, because they just twist the throttle on and leave it open, and they
show no fear, do they?
No, absolutely not.
I mean, these are guys. I mean, by all accounts, the weather conditions last night were very, very tricky, and I think there was some. I think there's other situations where that meting may not have gone ahead, but
I mean, we'll get on to that. And it's
chomping at the bit, really, from what I've heard, to get the match on.
We'll absolutely get to that in a moment. Sort of why I wrote my little piece at the beginning there. I mean, the difference in attitude between these riders and, shall we say, others. They were all there saying, "Do you want us to help you?
Yep.
Get the track ready. Do you want us to help?" They were trying to sweep the track and whatever they could do to help get the thing on, because they want to ride, of course. They want to ride. Yeah, tremendous. It was great not having any pressure for a win.
Yeah.
More of that later well.
It's become a successful competition, really, hasn't it? It's obviously shared around the venues. Birmingham obviously staged one of the events in 2023 as well, and it was quite successful, that one. I don't know what sort of crowd there was last night, but obviously the weather might have put a few people off.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. It's a shame, but I think if it had been held earlier in the year as well, it might have been slightly better. But and also the day before, the kids go back to school as well.
Including the ones that were in the meeting, weren't
yeah,
they? So
yeah. None of
some
this.
of them at school.
Yeah.
Probably at school today. So.
None of these things help. Shall we catch up on some of the comments? If you could make you out, thank you very much.
Those are all evenings.
Okay.
We
Yep. Okay. So, Khan signed for Bellevue 2-year deal, says Chris Thorogood, and Jeff Daniels says Khan's can't ride Championship or Premiership until the 16th of June next year. Khan signed a 2-year contract at Bellevue for National League. Yeah, Bellevue gets all these riders.
Yeah, so obviously, as I said, like I said, when he's old enough, there's going to be a clamour. There's going to be people I would think are already having conversations with him now. But obviously, Bellevue have obviously nipped in first. Certainly from what you've seen of him, you'd expect him to fly around Bellevue. So.
Absolutely. Ben Creswell says he went to Sheffield last night for the first time. They ride so much faster than my home track of Foxhall. Two very, very different tracks, of course.
Two very, and very much advantage Sheffield, I think, in that cup final with a 20-point lead over Ipswich. Obviously, a very depleted Ipswich team.
Yeah, we should get on to that. But actually, before we do that, I want to read something out. So, because we're still talking about last night. The heavens opened last night in Birmingham for about half an hour. I don't know, about an hour or so before the meeting, and the place was absolutely drenched. It was like a lake, and as ever, the guys there just rolled their socks up and got on with getting rid of the water and cleaning the drains out of shale and just making sure, and got the meeting on. So I'm just going to read something now. The referees at the end of each meeting, you may or may not know, have to make a report. And Chris Derner was the referee last night, and this is at least part of his report. And I just thought it was really nice. So, rider of the meeting, Birmingham staff. Taking undue risks with the age of the youngsters competing, tremendous job undertaken. My sincere thanks to the promoter and his track staff, who did a miraculous job to rescue the meeting. Most venues would have given up with that amount of flooding so close to start time. They worked tirelessly to pump, sweep, even hand bucket the water away, getting drenched in the process. Track underneath was in such good condition it allowed us to run the event to its full conclusion. So... That's really nice.
I mean, I work in Tysley, which people who are not familiar with here is about 9 miles away from Perry Bar, and about 4 o'clock we were putting sandbags by the door. It really, really was coming down, and I was thinking, there's no way this meeting at Perry Bar is going to be on tonight. I was quite astonished when I found out that it was.
Yeah. I turned up at the track thinking I'm going to be turned away.
Yeah.
No, and the track rode well.
Good.
To be fair, the track rode well.
One thing you can say about spear tracks, you can't really beat it being natural watering, can you?
No.
Because it's not too much.
Yeah. Browne Buck says, as Carnes is the son of the current Leicester promoter, I'd imagine he's already spoken for. Good point. And Browne Buck, those kids deserved a much better attendance than last night's. Yes, they did. But I tell you what, they loved it. They had a great time. So
what are the average ages of these kids?
I don't know. I mean, I think there was like 13, 14-year-olds.
Oh, right. Okay,
I mean,
that young.
Somebody else, I'm sure Brian will know that.
Frightening thing is they're probably all started back at school today.
Yes,
that's probably right,
Chris Thorogood again. Also my first visit to Overton last night following the Witches. Despite being so depleted, we battled hard and lesser teams could have crumbled to a 30-point loss. The team have been fantastic all season, apart from the odd occasion, despite the injuries. Oh, what could have been? Yeah, we've all...
Players have come at the wrong time for Ipswich, haven't they?
We've all been there. Every team's got their injury woe stories, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel sorry for. I feel for you. I'm still not sorry enough that I didn't celebrate us beating you home and away last week. But I think you will all understand why that was such sweet sorrow, shall we say?
Yeah, it was a nice positive end to what's been a rough season for Birmingham, wasn't it?
So we'll have a look at. There's a few more above that, so Chris, if you could wanted to. Okay. Yeah. Well done, Birmingham, for winning at Foxhall last Thursday. Ipswich are down on confidence at the moment. Yeah, I think they.
Well, down on confidence, I think really run out of steam, haven't they? Because they've obviously been sort of fighting against the tide since Jason Dorgan.
Kept going for such a long time.
Kept going, but I think losing Emil has probably sort of knocked all the last remaining wind down themselves.
We'll get onto this with Simon Corbett, shall we?
I thought this might crop up.
Yeah, of course. And so what happened to first versus fourth then? Well, it went away.
It went away. Yeah, when the statement was posted on the BSBL website, you could sort of almost hear the sounds of goalposts creeping as they were being shifted, couldn't you? Again, there doesn't seem to have been any explanations to why it's been done either.
There's been explanation of a sort, but not one they're understood.
Yeah. I just wonder whether maybe they sort of gamble on the fact that, well, Leicester at Kings Lynn, they're flying, they'll beat them. And of course, Kings Lynn.
You would have expected. I think we all probably predicted that.
So now Kings Lynn have had a decent run at the end of the season, haven't they? They've won the last 3 matches, of course. They beat Sheffield, they beat Bellevue, and of course, it was a good meeting last night, actually. I watched that one, and it was certainly a very, very competitive fixture. And Kings Lynn, again, they've had an awful season as well, so it's good for them that they've finished the season on a high.
As Jeff Daniels has said, farcical decision by Morris to call the playoffs early, and after the result last night, you would have had 2 different semi-finals.
Absolutely, yeah. So really, it should be Leicester racing Bellevue and Sheffield against Ipswich.
And it's completely different.
Yeah.
But so I've been quite ferocious in my support for Phil Morris. I think he's done a good job. I think he's got this one wrong.
I think he has. I think at the end of the season, I'd like to think they'll probably hold his hands up and say, "Look, I'll cop this one up."
Yeah. I would also wonder whether other promoters had a part in that decision and forced his hand. I don't know.
To a point, I get why he's made the decision, because it was always a bit of a frustration for me when you had teams qualifying for the playoffs on the Saturday, and then 48 hours later they had their first leg of their semi-final, so there was no real time to sort of savour it and sort of promote it in the local media. So it's given them a little bit of time to sort of promote that, but it just makes a bit of a mockery of it when it's shown, when the regulations say it's first against fourth, and then it turns out it's
strange, isn't it?
It's not first against fourth.
That we have a league of 6 teams, 7 teams.
Yep.
And we can't finish the season.
It does
before the cut-off. It's strange. I mean, I go back to the 70s and 80s when there was like 20 teams in the league, 25 teams in the league.
Yeah.
You know,
never seemed to struggle. There might have been 1 or 2 occasions when it sort of got.
There were a few more double headers than you tend to see now, I think.
Yeah,
might be. But other than that, I mean. Elliot Hunt, hi Elliot, friend
Elliot.
of the show. Birmingham had 2 great wins against Ipswich last week to end the season. Great performance from all. He's done that on purpose, especially to see Freddie get a maximum. Youth championships have been great to watch over the weekend and see our young riders develop. Why was the playoff fixtures... Wow, there's a lot going on here, Elliot. Why was the playoff fixtures called off early without the club's places confirmed? Well, good question. Answers on a postcard. And now Leicester can't finish top has gone against the rule book. I would have just announced home dates and then left the away opponents till placings were confirmed.
You've got Phil on Marcy's number. We should get him back on. He's been on before, isn't he? So.
Yes, yeah.
There's a rule book?
There is a rule book. Right. So
I've got it down here. I just can't lift it.
It's a doorway, isn't it?
Yeah, and every time you turn a page, you go back to the last page before, and it's changed.
Yeah.
So it's Harry Potter book, I think. So we'll talk a little bit about that at the end of season for Birmingham, because I just think it was a bit special, and it was special. I predicted an 18-point loss.
home meeting.
Home meeting. I predicted an 18-point loss.
I don't know what you're sticking
because
you went for an 18-point loss as well, didn't you?
I think you copied me.
Yeah, I was very disconsolate.
Yeah.
But we pulled it back, and there were a couple of things to say. When I heard Simon Lambert was replacing Mr. Lambert, I thought, oh no. But he did really well.
Yep, as we said last week, that heat winning heat number 9, I think, changed the meeting, didn't it? So,
and then we go to the Ipswich match, and it was close all the way. But unlike other occasions, we didn't fall away. We kept at it, and Tom Brennan and Freddie Lindgren. I mean, what a season Tom Brennan's had for a start off. Let's just, but they both looked unbeatable.
Yeah.
Well, Freddie, of course, was unbeaten on the night. A great way for him to sign off, really. And then he sort of carried that form on into the GP a little bit as well.
Yep.
Personally, think he was the fastest man on the track that night. Just wasn't quite gating as fast as others.
Yeah.
But it was a decent enough GP as well.
Personally, I thought the best man won it. I thought Vashlit rode very well.
I think you're probably right there.
Still very enigmatic as a rider, isn't he, Vashlit? Because on his day he looks unbeatable, but he just has too many off nights, really. But he's back in contention for a medal now, so...
Okay, so move them up a little bit for me again, please, Chris. There's a couple...
that's where you got to.
Okay.
Schmosley.
Okay, yes, so that's what I was looking for. Simon Corbett said, is Schmarslik on the decline?
Well, he certainly wasn't convincing again, was he, in Roslev started off with another last
Since
place.
he changed his engine tuner, of course.
Yeah.
That's a strange decision. You have to wonder why, what was going on in the background.
Yeah. But having said that, did anybody really take advantage of it? Don't think they did. He still got a 15-point lead, and, with...
The problem is it's very, very close behind him. There's no clear...
Because they're all taking points off each other, aren't they? So
he's still in the box seat, but it's looking a little less certain than it was like a couple of weeks ago. And perhaps...
Well, let's just have a look at it now. You've got Smalzik's on 121, Lindgren and Lambert 106, Mickelson 101, Vashlit 95, Jack Holder 93, and then there's a bit of a gap, of course, down to the first man outside the top 6, and that's Dan Bewley on the 84. He didn't do as well as I thought he would do. Dan Bewley, obviously home track advantage. He races for Roslev, and I thought, going into the GP on the back of a really fantastic win at Cardiff, didn't really.
He had a couple of.
He got better as the night went. He got better as the night went on, but again, if he'd got to the final, as we've seen, when he gets to the final, he normally wins. But not quite. Not
vintage Bewley.
Not vintage Bewley, no. But again, Robert Lambert, he must be thinking, what is he going to do to win?
What has he got to do?
You can't not see you can't see him not going and winning a Grand Prix.
I think he's got to make a few more gates, is what he's got to do.
I wonder whether he maybe could do it coming back and racing in the UK.
Well,
and I don't just mean for a couple of matches at the end of the season in the playoffs to get a medal.
Well, he can't do that now, can he?
Which he can't do anyway, yeah.
Well, somebody on here somewhere along the line, I can't remember who it was, said Birmingham should sign Robert Lambert next year. That'd be great.
Be a huge statement of intent, that would, wouldn't it?
Don't see it happening.
Mm-hmm.
You look around some of the other teams and their averages and stuff, and they're going to have to break up.
Yep.
Pretty much all of the top 4, I think, are going to have to break up. So there's going to be some possibilities there.
Bellevue are going to have to let a few go, certainly, I think.
Well, my favourite would be, there is a Bellevue rider that rides our track so well that I would love to have him here, and that's Brady Kurtz.
I thought you were going to say Norrick Bladorn. Because he does
Norrick Bladorn would be,
well,
but I'm thinking as a sort of number one.
Yeah.
I think he would fit the bill. Mm-hmm. He rides the track very, very well. Apparently it was reported Schmarslik is back on his original engine and tuner at the GP. Okay. Didn't work for him, but maybe it hasn't caught up yet. Some guy wrote on Facebook that he saw some land for sale in the Wolves area. Pass this on to Dave Parry, who is looking into it. Have you heard anything? I haven't.
As far as I know, there's not a shred of truth in it.
Okay.
As far as I know.
Okay. There you go. Sorry. There might be some more news coming up soon that I've been given an inkling about to do with another West Midlands team. I can't say anything more about that at the moment. And mainly because I don't know whether it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it did come from a reliable source.
Yes, there is a fly in here.
Yes, there is a fly.
Yeah.
Yes.
That'll keep us on our toes.
Yeah.
Not a
It's a
wasp,
very
is it?
big one as well. It's come out of Mark's wallet. Mike's wallet.
I thought you said Mark's wallet. Yeah.
I haven't got one. Okay. Dave R. Broughton says, why have a break for the Speedway of Nations, then playing catch-up to get fixtures in due to weather?
Well, I think one of the things they did do, to be fair, there's been a lot of criticism in the past, isn't it? That they've waited until the start of October to get playoffs started, and then you are sort of gambling with the weather on you, because it's not going to always play ball in October. So there's been a concerted effort, I think, to sort of make the end of August the cut-off for all your league fixtures, and then have September for the playoffs, and then if anybody wants any backfill fixtures like testimonials or challenge matches, then they can stay to them in October. So I can see why they've done that, but again, it all comes down to the same issue, isn't it? Why do the clubs just have so many long gaps without fixtures, and then get to middle of August and then suddenly go on a mad dash to try and cram everything in? So we haven't had too many double headers, I don't think, this season, which is always something that annoys me immensely.
Pete Clark says, is there any truth that Poland will be using all Thursdays next year and our Premier League can only be on Mondays?
Yeah, I think Poland are looking to move Thursdays. I don't know whether that's confirmed. I know that there was a suggestion, it might have been about 12 months ago, that Poland were looking to move to Thursdays. So where that leads British Speed, I don't know.
Darren Reynolds on YouTube says, hi chaps, great listening, thank you very much. Would Brumbies fans, who are Brumbies?
Is it a cross between Coventry and Birmingham?
Maybe. Would the fans keep Sam as team manager? I think the majority of the people that I've spoken to have probably said no, they wouldn't. What are your thoughts?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I think Sam's sort of had his hands tied a little bit because the team was sort of, I don't think he had that much of a say in the building of the team. Because obviously
he didn't have any saying in it there.
So because obviously he came into it late in the piece, didn't he? I think the team was pretty much built by the time, save for the top tier riders, when he was appointed.
Yeah.
So it certainly wouldn't surprise me if come the start of next season that Sam isn't the team manager. But of course, then that means who are Birmingham going to bring in to replace him?
Well, I mean, this is always the $64,000 question. Okay, so I'm just catching up here. Ben Creswell, thoughts on the new land purchased for a new Swindon track?
This has been rumbling on for about 12 years now, hasn't it? What can I say? I'll believe it when I'm standing in there watching a meeting. That's all I'll say on that one there, because there's been so much stuff said about.
We live in hope.
Certainly hope it's true, but unfortunately, the Swindon saga has been farcical really at times, isn't it? It's similar to the Coventry situation.
Exactly. Yeah.
And Brian's just reminding me, Rider of the Week. Get your thoughts together on that one.
I'm going to go William Carnes.
Oh, right, straight away.
Yeah, I'm going to go William Carnes. I was very impressed. I mean, Freddie Lindgren got a shout. Tom Brennan's got a shout for me, but I'm going to go for William Carnes.
Josh Pickering, I'd probably go for. Obviously, got a 6-ride maximum for Sheffield last night. So, as did Jack Holder, to be fair, as well. But
yeah. Pete Clark, is there any truth that Poland will be using... Oh, I've just written that one. Sorry. Simon Carbett says that they'll be doing Division 1 on Thursdays in Poland. So it's going to be... I think there's going to be a butting of heads soon between various different federations and Poland. And I think it needs to happen.
It does. Yeah, I think there is some point or another. Someone's going to have to come together and say, "Look, guys, you've got to get something else sorted out here. You can't just have one seems, and we're having that year locked and clear off.
Yeah.
You know.
And this is where you need the FIM.
I know it's dog eat dog, isn't it? Really, I suppose at the end of the day.
Well, what will end up happening is British leagues will say you can't have our riders, and Polish leagues will say you can't have our riders, and that's a difficult one, isn't it? For everybody. Rich Thomas says Swindon won't happen. I hope you're wrong, obviously. Brian Buck, if all Premiership fixtures are going to be held on Mondays next season, then 6 of the teams will be in action on the same night, leaving only one team to supply any guests.
Well, that'll mess Chris Harrison, wouldn't it? If he can't guest.
Is that a good thing?
The guest rules.
Does it level things out?
Well, the guest rule's never been. It's always been seen as a bit of a necessary evil, hasn't it?
I don't see how you replace. If somebody comes up with a way of replacing the guest rule, I mean, the obvious answer is squad systems, but there just isn't the riders there to do that.
Yeah,
that would solve a lot, wouldn't it?
I mean, you could say, if you've got a rider missing, promote one of your riders from your junior team, but of course then you sort of...
Then people don't go and watch you.
That's the problem, yeah.
So, you imagine Ipswich having to do that for like 3/4 of the season.
They'd be having guests from other junior teams, wouldn't they, this ride, I think.
So if there were less teams, then a squad system would probably work.
There's only 7 teams in the league now. You're going to get less than 7.
Yeah, certainly.
It's a problem.
I say, going back to the GP, I think it's, I think it's we're all becoming increasingly conscious of the fact that there's a bit of needle, shall we say, between Jack Holder and Robert Lambert. Again, they sort of butted heads a little bit again, didn't they, in Rosslav?
Like to see it.
Yeah. Well, Phil Lanning was obviously our mate Phil Lanning, who we had on the show earlier in the year, was obviously tweeted about this, and he said, you could see them obviously going towards each other in the pit, and then suddenly the cameras go away from them. Yeah. And you think everyone's thinking, well, we wanted to see that.
Yeah, exactly right. If it was a football match, you would see it.
Yeah, they'd be straight in there, wouldn't they? So, but
not trying to promote fisticuffs or anything, but if it happens, it's part of the thing. It's part of the show, surely.
Yeah, it is. I think it is. It's probably the worst kept secret in the world that they don't particularly like each other. Isn't it? So,
I mean, that's something that's gone on all through Speedway, hasn't it? Even the early days.
I don't think there's anything wrong with a bit of needle.
No. But
I mean, how many headlines did
the
passion? Well, how many headlines did the Pennell and Carter rivalry generate?
Absolutely.
When I look on YouTube, it seems to be more then than now. Is that fair to say?
I think that's true, and I think it's true for the reason that we have a very, for want of a better word, woke culture at the moment, and that filters into everything. And also, these riders that are riding against each other in one week are in the same team the next week. In another country, and so there's all of that going on as well. But I don't think, like you say, a little bit of needle, it's part of the show sometimes.
Oh yeah, of course.
You don't want to manufacture it.
Yeah.
But it's showing passion for your sport, for what you believe, and
in the end, it's entertainment.
It's entertainment. It is.
What you're playing,
It's absolutely. I mean, you must see it in football rivalries.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, there's the savage rivalries and the.
It'd be boring, wouldn't it?
Everybody had the needle with Manchester legend punter, whose name won't come, Irish guy. It'll come to you.
Yeah. Footballer.
Yes.
George Best.
No. More recent than that. It's a pundit now.
Roy Keane.
Roy Keane. There you go. Roy Keane.
Yeah.
Roy Keane.
He's a nutter.
Would you say that to his face?
No.
Of course you wouldn't.
Anyway, I just need to hold my hand up about something and say I've been very, 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 very lucky this week. I haven't got any tickets for Oasis.
Oh, I'm me. Yeah, I was really lucky.
Yeah, I'm delighted about that.
Yep. I did my best not to get any.
You didn't force him down the back of the sofa at the door.
Okay, so Brian's got an interesting question here. Would Birmingham fans support a second team racing in the National League? As the league only has 6 teams at present, there would only be a small number of home fixtures which could easily be fitted in on the blank Mondays, but we would need better support than last night's Youth Championship did. I think you would get better support than last night because it's your team.
Yeah.
I've got another question about this, by the way. So it's your team, so that there definitely would be better support than there was last night. I don't know. I'd love to see it.
Question for any Leicester fans and Bellevue fans watching or listening who go to their National League meetings there. What are their crowds for their National League fixtures like in comparison to your...
Or Workington, of course.
Workington as well, in comparison to your top flight fixtures. I mean, Birmingham, obviously, when they were in the National League, they generally had good crowds, didn't they? They sort of petered off, I think, the last
because people got a bit fed up with them, wanted better racing.
The problem really with Birmingham had was, of course, that was it 2016 when they won every match?
Mm-hmm.
You can't follow that, can you?
No.
So,
no.
And I think every season after that Birmingham didn't do as well as that was always going to be perceived as being a bad season. That's why really they really had nowhere else to go in the National League, and they had to make the decision to move up.
And the National League became a much weaker product because you lost people like Cradley and Eastbourne and
Coventry, of course.
Coventry, yeah. So I don't think that helped either. So I think they probably would. On that basis, 6. You're talking about like 5 extra matches, like that, essentially, aren't you? Mm-hmm. So it would be.
I think I think at the moment the National League is in a bit of a quandary, isn't it? Because you've got some teams in that league who use it primarily to sort of give younger riders a chance, and then you've got other teams that just go in there just to win everything. You know, you look at Leicester's record in the National League in racing seasons. Yeah, not knocking Leicester because ultimately they're in the business of winning, and they've done remarkably well in that division over the last few seasons, haven't they? So
yeah, I mean the team we could knock is Paul, of course, but
yeah.
It's an easy target. Bellevue Colts average around 4 to 500.
That's decent.
That would be a for National League level racing. That would be.
It
fine.
probably looks a little bit lost in that big grandstand they've got. Although I know when I went there to watch Birmingham in the National League in 2016, I think only half of the stadium was open for the National League fixtures. I don't know whether that's still the case, but they don't open the back straight.
Brian says, I'd like to see a National League team at Perry Bar, but it would need to comprise of genuine Birmingham riders, not just a collection of riders with no affinity to the club.
I do agree with that. You can't just have, I mean, you think, the last season that Cradley ran, I think they only ran in the National League Trophy, didn't they? And they basically had guests from other league, didn't they? So it wasn't really a Cradley team.
It killed the project off, didn't it, really? So, I'd agree with that. And actually, if we did run a National League team, I'd like to see it as a way of getting assets for the Birmingham team proper. That would be interesting.
Are National League teams allowed to have assets now? Because they weren't for a period, were they?
No, but I would imagine as a parent club, as a what's the name of the league we're in again? Premiership club. Yep. God, my mind today. We would be able to sign riders, and then once you sign them, of course, they become your assets, presumably. I might be totally wrong with that. Somebody will correct me. With glee, probably. I'd like to ask a question, actually, about that sort of level of racing. As I said before, I was really, really impressed last night with the 250cc guys.
Yeah.
They really went at it hammer and tongue. Why have we not got 250cc leagues? I mean,
why isn't there?
There should be.
Or you just don't know?
Well, I don't know.
That's why we've asked the question.
Yeah, that's why I asked the question. I mean, I think that would be tremendous.
Yeah, I mean, you got the
tremendous race and blooding these kids in team racing,
or 150cc. Yeah.
Because I mean, ultimately,
back to the Revies now. That would be a great thing for the Revy.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately,
to move on to.
I mean, ultimately, of course, all the riders, are going in as individuals, aren't they? But I think it's good. I think there's no doubt about it. The most popular form of speedway is team events, isn't it? It's always
certainly is in this country,
particularly in the UK. So it would be nice to give these younger riders the opportunity to have an experience of racing as part of a team as well as being out on the track for themselves.
Because it's different.
Yeah, it is. You've got to watch out for your partner. It's. We obviously talk about team riding, and it does seem to be you don't see as much of it so far as I certainly would have done growing up.
We used to see loads of it.
Yeah.
Usually Cradley doing it to us, but hey ho. I have got an announcement that I've been authorised to make.
You're leaving?
about Birmingham's team for next year. Obviously, we have always hit the ground running after everybody's already signed their team.
Yeah.
And that makes life difficult. Nigel Tully told me last night and said that I'm allowed to say this, that they will have the team, or their aim certainly is to have the team signed by Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
So
I hope Nigel's not listening to this and thinking, fooled him this time.
yeah.
I don't think he would, to be fair.
Well, I told him not to say that.
Yeah. I did check with him.
There'll suddenly be a hammering on the door, won't there?
Ben Cresswell says, I wish they would release the attendance in the fixture reports in Speedway Star. Why? Are you that anxious to be depressed?
Probably nice. Probably just like me. But I like
Tony Mould did it for a season at Long Eaton, didn't he? And he got told by the other promoters to stop doing it.
Yeah.
Really?
So,
yeah.
I think the taxman might.
There's a subjective suggestion as to why they don't do it, but probably best not to go into that on a live broadcast. So.
Yeah, I think we're there.
Only the grandstand is open for Colts. Farcical decision by Morris to call the playoffs, and Dave Twine says, obviously using a second-hand AI.
Yeah.
I think we'll blame it on the AI.
It's interesting, you just reminded me, obviously, with that Jeff talking about Bellevue. Can we just say best wishes to Chris Morton, of course.
I've actually got that written down.
Completed his bicycle ride, and of course he's now in hospital, obviously. He's got to have an operation, obviously feeling the effects of it, but a fantastic thing
had a hernia, apparently.
Yeah, cycling from Cardiff to Rosslav, which it's not like cycling up the road.
No.
And here it's a blooming long way, so
yes, it is.
Get well soon, Mort.
Yeah, I heard news today that he's actually been released from hospital.
Good.
And he's going to be on his way home, but he can't go by plane.
Yeah, but he's not going to cycle back.
I wouldn't hope. I would hope not. I would hope not. Did you want to say something?
No. I was scratching my head.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. That's fine.
That's if I want to say something. That's if I'm scratching my head. All right.
I'm not going to say what's just coming to my head. yeah. We've got that one.
Yeah.
Okay, there's 2 more minutes to go. Obviously, you have 2 minutes.
Well done.
So, shall we move on to the league table?
Yeah, we can do.
Our predictions league table.
I'm going to try and find it. I know that it's not looking good for me.
Yeah.
Well,
it's going to be so small that only.
There's not as many fixtures this week, so next week it shouldn't be quite easy to read. So.
Okay, you'll have to make it up.
May I make a suggestion that you actually just do a screenshot of just the actual table so we can see where we are in the table.
That's not exciting.
I don't know what he's on about.
Okay,
I don't know what he's saying.
Maybe crop it into two.
That's what I mean.
Halves, yeah.
Yeah, crop it so you can just see the 1 to 10 or 1 to however many we've got in this league now.
Okay.
Because that's the important bit, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, do you know?
Can you decipher this squiggle for us, please?
Because I can't read that. I've got no chance. Who's top?
Well, just
Simon, obviously.
What a silly question that is.
I know, it is, isn't it? But who's second?
Let me just get the just amuse yourselves for a minute while I.
Pete Clark says he's desperate not to be on the bottom.
Well, do we need to go into his private life?
Yes.
Yeah. So Simon's on 174, Elliot 167, John Bird 165, Rich Thomas 164, Gordon Gambrell 161. Dave Twine, I've seen that there's a couple of errors on that table, so I will get those rectified as well. Philip Gray 160, me 159, and I think everybody else is just
Slip down a bit, ain't you, Matt?
Yep, just a bit, yeah.
So, are we to
You are 20th, 148, and you are 22nd, 100 and...
Okay,
4
I'm
points.
Not last.
There's 4 points between you
4
at the moment,
points.
so...
Still time.
Yeah.
But we're coming towards the end of it now, so... But
Better get that mug printed.
you've already got it printed, haven't you?
Yeah, I
You
know,
might as well get it printed at the
The
start
next
of the
5 years printed.
Right, shall we make a start then? And it's
Okay.
up to Matt to go first. This
Well, the
week.
first one is Oxford against Redcar. That's in the semi-final, first leg of the Championship Knockout Cup. And I'm going to go for Redcar by 4 on that one.
I'll go Redcar by 2.
Draw.
Okay.
Let's get it in early.
Wouldn't surprise me, actually.
No.
Yeah. Next one in the Premiership is tomorrow. That's Leicester against Kings Lynn.
I'll go Leicester by 4.
Could Kings Lynn beat Leicester? Leicester by 10.
Leicester by 12. Okay, second leg of the Knockout Cup Knockout Cup final in the Premiership, Ipswich against Sheffield. Can Ipswich pull back that 20-point lead that Sheffield built up at Alderson on Monday?
No. Do we know who well, Tom Brennan's going to be riding for them, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give Ipswich a win by 4 points.
I'm going to go for Sheffield to win by 6.
Okay.
I'll go for Sheffield to win by 2.
Okay, and then on Friday we've got the second leg of the Cup semi-final in the Championship, Redcar against Oxford.
It's up to you, Matt.
Redcar by 10, I'll go for.
Redcar by 12.
Redcar by 10.
Okay, then on the same night it's the Scottish Derby, Edinburgh against Glasgow in the Championship.
Come on, let's see which side of the country you want to annoy
Glasgow
the most.
by 6.
Edinburgh by 6.
Edinburgh by 4, I'll go for.
Did you get the idea that you might have got that one?
You never know.
You never know.
Okay, also on Friday in the Cup semi-final, second leg, Scunthorpe against Poole.
I'm getting the difficult ones this week, aren't I?
Yeah. I think Poole won the first leg, didn't they? So
I'm going to say Scunthorpe by 2.
Yeah, I'll go for Poole by 4.
I'll go Scunthorpe by 8.
Okay, then on Saturday in the Championship, Workington against Plymouth.
I'm not sure, Matt.
Workington by 10.
Workington by 4.
Workington by 12.
Okay, then on Sunday in the Championship, Glasgow against Oxford.
That's for you, Matt.
Glasgow by 8.
Sorry, it's not for you, it's for Chris, but not to worry.
Okay.
Glasgow by 10.
I'll say Glasgow by 10 as well, actually.
Okay, and then on Monday we got the start of the playoffs in the Premiership as Ipswich take on Leicester. And it's not fourth against first. Just pointing that out.
Yeah. And I've got the difficult one again.
Yeah.
Oh dear, I can't really see Ipswich beating Leicester, so I'm going to say Leicester by 4.
Well, Leicester got the psychological advantage because they went there and won by was it 16, I think they won by a few weeks ago. I'll go for Leicester by 10.
I think Ipswich will probably have better guests this time.
I'm going to go Leicester by 8.
Okay, and that's it.
Okay, well,
Get
isn't
your
it?
predictions up.
Okay. So, quick prediction from you. Who's going to win the Premiership?
Leicester.
I agree.
And please as well, don't forget, give us your rider of the week
Let's have a
as well.
Yes, Rider of the Week, please. Let's have a quick look at the Championship. Who have we got? Who's Obviously, Paul's going to be there.
Well, Paul at the moment are just waiting for confirmation as to who they're going to be racing. It's either going to be Glasgow or Workington.
Out of those, I think they would prefer Glasgow.
I think that'll be too strong for whoever is there, to be honest. I think they probably would prefer Glasgow because, Glasgow obviously had a fantastic season, finally getting over the line and bringing silverware back to Ashfield, but it's just not worked out for them this season, has it, unfortunately? But that's obviously the only semi-final that we've got so far. Poole against either Glasgow or Workington. The first leg of that is on Wednesday. So
who else is in the picture?
At the moment, of course, it is top four, so it's Oxford and Scunthorpe, I believe, is going to be the other one. Unless someone can put us right on there. Of course, you've still got Redcar in there, you've still got Glasgow.
So it's still not quite...
It's not quite decided. Glasgow's still in there. I believe I think it was, you did used to be top 16, but I think it is now top four, because obviously there's not as many teams in the Championship as there was a few seasons ago. So
It's sobering to think that if it was... top 6 in the Premiership, we still wouldn't have made the playoffs.
Well, that's it, so...
hey ho.
Yeah, Poole have announced their play semi-final, either Glasgow or Workington. Phil Morris, take note. That's Jeff Daniels who says that, Phil, not me. So.
Yeah, I've got to be honest, Phil's got pretty much most things right, I think,
he's got that one. I think he's got that one
but
wrong.
He has got that one wrong, in my humble opinion.
I think that was a sort of panic decision, really. But...
And
in the National League, what's the situation there?
Well, that's already been decided, of course. There's no playoffs in that one.
No playoffs,
Leicester obviously have won that. I think it's a third title in 4 seasons, I think, something like that. They're on 22 points from 9, Oxford 15 from 10. And then you've got, at the moment, Bellevue, Scunthorpe and Middlesbrough all vying for the last place there in the top 3, although both Bellevue and Scunthorpe have got... I think a couple of matches in hand, I think, on Middlesbrough. So at the moment, it looks like it's either going to be Bellevue or Scunthorpe. You would think Bellevue probably would get the third place in that one. And you've got Edinburgh struggling down there at the bottom with just 2 points from their 6 matches.
So, have we got time to open that old chestnut since we're talking about playoffs? Playoffs or top? So the winner of the league is the winner of the league, or
I think the team that finishes top of the league should get something. I've always felt that.
Playoffs they've got to be exciting though.
Playoffs bring a nice little money spinner at the end of the season because obviously you're going to get the big crowds and the TV coverage as well. I'm glad they've not got playoffs in the National League now because I'd never have felt having playoffs in the National League was right because there's no TV coverage of it. So and obviously Championship has followed the same pattern as well, although they've still got playoffs as well. I think it'd push, you would say, yes, Premiership. I can see the argument from both sides, to be fair. The playoffs obviously is good from, for the teams that get there because you get the nice little big...
If you're Ipswich right now...
If you're Ipswich now, then it's
couldn't they just make
the only thing with Ipswich, of course, they'd say is, well, if there was no playoffs, then our season would be over. But of course, they're still in with a chance, aren't they?
Couldn't they make it a separate competition? So you'd have the winner, obviously, and then a separate competition with the top 4. So there's a chance like of a double, and things like that.
I guess it depends on what then becomes the trophy.
Yeah.
Which is the important trophy because it sort of becomes like a knockout cup then, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And so therefore that trophy then loses its glitter in a sense.
Yeah. I mean, your vision is obviously sort of clouded by
a little bit,
isn't it?
But I mean, I wasn't one of the ones that moaned about that for that reason. I moaned about it for another reason. The whole Greg Hancock situation, which felt a little bit sour. And wouldn't be allowed under today's competition rules.
Paul's argument would have been though that they did bring him in to replace an injured rider because he came in to replace Chris Holder, didn't they?
Who wasn't performing greatly at the time. But
and of course had a bad crash, didn't he? Of course, that was the year I think he was world champion the previous season, so he was still at that time perceived as being a top rider.
Yeah,
this might lead on somewhat to the question I had last week. which I didn't get time to.
Okay, yes.
And that is, what is the most ridiculous decision you've ever seen involving Speedway?
God.
Even not just in a meeting, but Speedway as a whole. Something where you've gone, what?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a few of those.
Jaws dropped.
But I have got one which is not Birmingham related, really, but that was the Kenny Carter Kenny Carter incident in Los Angeles. That decision. Well, surely everybody knows about this when they clashed like mad. I mean, it should have been brought back right from the start because they were at each other right out the gate. So it should have been brought back at that point as an unsatisfactory start anyway. But I'm sorry. For me, Pennell took Kenny Carter off. I can't. I've looked at it from all the different angles and everything, and I can't see it any other way.
I think he did, but I've always felt that the referee, if they couldn't, there's nothing to say the referee couldn't have excluded both of the riders because they were both as bad as each other. To be fair, I think you watch that race now and you think when Carter was clearly quicker than Pennell,
yes,
in the race. I think if Carter I think the problem with Carter is I think he was less preoccupied about sort of consolidating and making sure he finished ahead of Pennell, but I think he got too preoccupied with beating Pennell in that final, didn't he? Because as we've mentioned earlier, it wasn't a made up rivalry either. There was a real genuine dislike for each other. Yeah, I think they respected each other as riders, but I think there was a genuine. I mean, let's be fair. I mean, I don't think too many riders got on particularly well with Kenny Carter anyway. He
was abrasive Yorkshireman.
Yeah.
But the fans loved him.
It's quite strange, actually, when you think that the only rider that they reckon that really got on well with him was Calvin Tatum. Now, you would think of a blunt, straight-talking Yorkshireman and a public school boy. Sorry, you wouldn't have thought that was being particularly. Yeah. Having said that, I mean, obviously Tatum was right at the start of his career, but of course he was sort of growing in reputation. So I think had Carter lived, and Tatum would have become more of a rival to Carter as the top British rider, then maybe their relationship would have sort of soured a little bit.
I mean, Kenny Carter. I've obviously saw him ride at Perry Bar, the old Perry Bar, and when he came, when a number one rider comes from another team, you so desperately want to beat that number one rider, and if you can't, you're quite annoyed about it.
Yeah,
there was none of that with Kenny Carter. It was like, oh my life, wow.
Yeah.
He was just so good. He really was, spectacularly good. Obviously what happened is what happened.
I mean, ultimately that's going to cloud everyone's vision of his, whatever he was as a rider. Ultimately, his actions at the end were inexcusable. I suppose in this day and age, maybe, with the things that are about now, that he could
with mental health,
he could have had some help, but to get over these things. But obviously, it's nearly 40 years ago now, so and all the it's nothing's going to bring.
But anyway, that's answered your question.
No.
Do you have one?
Interesting.
The one I've probably regaled many times, that was Jimmy Nielsen guesting for Wolves and Cradley in one leg each of the final and getting in and losing. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, only in Speedway.
Tossing a coin to decide the winner of the World Under 21 final in 2003, I think it was as well.
Right, I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's a crazy sport.
But most sports have craziness within them.
Oh, yeah.
Perhaps none as much as Speedway. I mean, Formula One sometimes I go, what?
Yeah, just to say, obviously Pete's just reminded me there, obviously sad that Millsall now confirmed that they won't be coming back in 2025. It's obviously a massive blow. I don't think the recent fire at the stadium's helped, but from what I've been told, they haven't been able to generate the funds to make it worthwhile for them to run.
I guess we have to hope. There's always 2026. Yeah, you have to hope.
Yep.
I mean, the one thing I will say to people out there at the moment without teams, and there's such a lot of them at the moment, I never expected Birmingham to come back. And when I suddenly heard that it was a possibility, I was gobsmacked.
Yeah.
So, never give up hope, I guess. I think that's a great place to leave it.
Yep.
I was serious about what I said at the beginning. If you get the chance to thank your track staff, go and shake their hands, give them a pat on the back, say well done. They will deserve it. So, yeah.
Ben's just replied regarding what he talked about earlier. He said, he thought about a mixed league knockout cup, but can't when the likes of Redcar, Race Ipswich for Danny King, etc. Not enough riders.
That's the problem. I mean,
Yeah, we did have the British League Cup several years ago, which I thought in principle was a good idea. You didn't have so much of the doubling up then, but I think the problem was too many clubs just abused it, and instead of sort of reworking it the following season, they just got rid of it.
yeah. I think if you do something like that, there's got to be some sort of handicap system.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't do it for the very reason that's been said, but if down the line, if enough riders come out the woodwork, and there's certainly riders about, as we saw last night, then some sort of handicap system whereby if a team goes... if the team from the higher league goes a certain amount of points in front, that there is like a handicap system to help them compete on a more even keel. That would be interesting. Dave Tyne says, I would, but the Brummies last match moved to the night my footy team plays.
Yeah.
Not good thing, not good planning, that one, is it?
Well, I don't think they had much choice.
Yeah.
Don't think they had much choice. Pete Clark, join in and help your local volunteer track staff. There is always something to do. Good point. And on that note, I think we will bid you adieu.
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 Good night.
See you soon. Take care.
Good night.
Welcome to the Speedway Tavern. Enjoy your stay. Welcome to the Speedway Tavern. What's the news today?